Knowing football about the support of Newcastle United, I mean, they were good, but Swindon's supporters yesterday were marvellous, really got behind the team, you know, and when you're playing at home, it does make such a difference to hear your home supporters in such good voice.
Well, Swindon and Rovers, of course, feature in our main matches. Rovers' new manager, John Ward, though, prevented from watching his new team by a High Court injunction taken out by former club York City. And we've not forgotten Bristol City's vital clash with Terry Cooper's Birmingham City. City with a new look forward line in search of points to keep them away from the relegation zone. But let's get on with the action, starting at the county ground in Swindon, where Andy Cole made his Newcastle debut after his £1.75 million transfer from Bristol City. It's fourth place Swindon against the runaway leaders, Newcastle United. Swindon still without injured player manager Glenn Hoddle. Indeed, only 5 of this team started against Newcastle when the teams last met in November. Nicky Summerby was in midfield then. Now he starts at right back in place of the transferred David Kerslake. Newcastle keep over £2 million worth of new signings on the bench, but they do find a place for Scott Sellers, a £750,000 buy from Blackburn. Referee Mr. Paul from Berkhamsted, the youngest in the Football League, as Swindon kick off. Ling back to Calderwood. Blocked by Kelly. Bright sunlight at the county ground. And the first throw-in for Swindon skipper Calderwood, handing on to Nicky Summerby. The new right back with the long throw. That's meant for Mitchell. Newcastle have it through Scott. Vivash gets up for Swindon. Steve White for Mitchell to chase. Back goes Scott, and Scott clears. This is going to be a vital clash between Scott and the Australian international David Mitchell. Another long throw from Summerby. Scott again beating Mitchell in the air. Summerby with the corner. Up goes Taylor. Oh, that wasn't so far away. Sean Taylor, the big centre-back, rising high to meet Summerby's corner and heading just wide. Venison. Howie for Newcastle. The long ball again meant for Mitchell to chase. And again, Scott gets there. But a good challenge from Mitchell. Paul Hunt, just wide. Snapshot from Paul Hunt, well wide in the end. Chernicek. Hunt challenges, busy little player. Back goes Calderwood and Clark. Oh, Clark steals it. And Digby forced to dive, but the ball across the face of the goal. Clark is so nippy. And that ball across the face of Swindon's goal. The long goal kick from Digby. Up goes Mitchell. Beresford for Newcastle. Turns neatly. The right back is Barry Venison, formerly of Liverpool. It's meant for David Kelly. Ooh, a bit of a mix-up in the Swindon defence there. Bodin has to go back. But, oh, neat play from Paul Bodin. The Welsh international, so calm. But the danger's not over yet. This is O'Brien and Clark. And back goes Bodin again against Lee. Lee with Clark. Back it goes to Venison. And the through ball's meant for Lee, and Bodin concedes the corner. Paul Bodin, prolific goal scorer of late, now needed the best of his defence that time. Out comes the long corner. Venison to Sellers. Oh, Kelly's in space. David Kelly, the goal for Newcastle United. The Irish international ball came out from Venison to Sellers. And suddenly, Kelly was in space, tucked it home. And what a time to take the lead for Newcastle, just 3 minutes to half-time. Newcastle with the vital psychological edge. And Beresford, the left-back, long ball meant for Sellers. Bounces kindly for him, overlapping is Clark. And Sellers back to Beresford. Neat, measured football from Newcastle, straight through McLaren's legs. And that's meant for Beresford to chase, just too long from Sellers. And Kevin Keegan, though, the Newcastle manager, enjoying the advantage that his team has. 1 goal ahead, just into the second half, as Steve White holds the ball up for Swindon, and overlapping is Bodin. Steve White is through and brought down in the penalty area by O'Brien, and that surely is a penalty, no doubt in the referee's mind. Steve White hacked down in the penalty area. It was Liam O'Brien the culprit, and this is Paul Bodin. No mistake for Paul Bodin. His 7th goal in 10 games for the Welsh international, striking home the equaliser for Swindon. O'Brien. Oh, good control from David Kelly. And laying it off for Sellers to chase. But Swindon clear. Somerby. And the ball now, and looking up to try and find Steve White. Steve White, oh, has he handled the ball? The referee waves play on. White now looking for support, has it from Bodin. And the corner given, and Venison hits White on the way through, and Newcastle very unhappy about that decision. Let's look at it again. White pushing there and getting a hand to the ball, no doubt about it, but the referee didn't spot it, and this corner is from Bodin. Up goes Taylor, the ball bounces around, it's a goal! Colin Calderwood, the Swindon skipper, has scored the goal that takes his team in front. There were so many Newcastle bodies in that penalty area. Taylor challenged well, but the ball bounces back, and eventually Colin Calderwood threads it through, and what a good 3 minutes for Swindon. And there's the man of the moment, Andy Cole, £1.75 million signing from Bristol City. He's got half an hour to make his presence felt for Newcastle. Venison and Clark. The pressure from Newcastle now. Swindon have to clear. Ling tries to get it away. Calderwood adjudged to have fouled. And worrying times for Glenn Hoddle. And the Swindon wall. The shots from Sellers, tipped over by Fraser Digby. And what a save from Fraser Digby, asking his teammates, was it going over? I don't think it was, and Digby just managed to tip it clear. All the pressure from Newcastle now. Clark, headed away by Swindon. Each clearance cheered by the crowd. Up goes Cole. This is Scott. Calderwood clears. Agony for Newcastle, but ecstasy for Swindon Town.
Well, Mark, what a result. A real case of the have-nots beating the haves.
Yeah, the money team against the non-money team, Alistair. Super result for Swindon, marvellous.
It couldn't have gone worse for them, though. That period just before half-time, supposedly the vital period, and yet it was Newcastle that scored the goal. That's
right, yeah. Swindon caught actually trying to push out a bit. There haven't been many chances in the game, but to be fair to Kelly, when he did get his chance, he took it ever so well. And Newcastle went in 1-up, and you think, oh, hold on a minute, Swindon could be struggling here.
And yet they fought their way back into the game, didn't they? And it was an obvious penalty award, wasn't it?
Oh, most definitely, for O'Brien's tackle. I mean, the referee was in a great position. I can't see how the best of games, but yeah, an obvious penalty and well struck home by Bodin.
Yeah, one of his easiest goals recently.
Well, it's what we've seen in the goal of the month the other day, certainly, but he's in such a vein of scoring form.
And the winner, though, that was all about aerial power, really, was it?
Yeah, I think a bit fortunate, really, Swindon, because it looked like handball could have been given against Whitey. He did control it with his hand, but to be fair, when they put the ball in the box from the corner, Newcastle really hadn't defended it ever, you know, they defended it terribly all the game, and Calderwood scored as he seems to do from set pieces.
So can Swindon go all the way now?
I think they can. The only thing I would say against them at the moment is that's, I think, 7 wins out of 8 games, and you worry whether they've just actually hit the purple patch a bit too soon. But hopefully, Hoddle to come back in, hopefully so.
Fair to Swindon, you know, everybody loves an underdog, and I suppose today, even on their own pitch, they were their underdogs, and they came out here. They were without Glenn Hoddle and Mickey Hazard, and they battled for the points, and you've got to give them credit for that. And at Newcastle, we certainly do.
We applied ourselves in a good way today, professional manner, and probably surprised one or two managers have expressed their opinions that they didn't expect us to kick as hard as we do. But we don't kick, we go out and we fight for the ball, and football teams sometimes get labelled as being a little bit soft, and hopefully we've added a bit of steel to our play this year, which is reflected in a good run.
Newcastle looked to have struck an important psychological blow just before half-time. Irish international David Kelly with his 21st goal of the season. But Swindon came storming back after the interval. Steve White brought down in the box. The referee in no doubt it was a penalty. Paul Bodin making no mistake. Newcastle blamed the referee when Steve White handled and went unpunished. Newcastle still protesting even after the ball went loose for a corner. Their loss of concentration allowing Colin Calderwood to hammer home the winner.
I just
doing
hope,
well in the table, aren't they?
yeah, doing well in the table. If they can sell about another 6 more players before we play them, I'll be happy.